Okay, now that you can turn the robot on, let's make first contact using a marker to do some drawing tests. Get your robot into this horizontal configuration and press Tool 1 on the teach pendant to open up the fingers. Then get your marker in to about here. You don't want to bottom out the marker all the way in as far as it will go, because if you crash into something, your marker is going to immediately explode. If you place it closer to the ends of the fingers, then you have some wiggle room for the marker to slide further into the palm of the robot if a collision starts to happen. When you've got the marker placed, press Shift Tool 1 on the teach pendant to close the gripper. Get a sheet of paper and align it as carefully as you can to be parallel with both edges of our table, and then tape it down on top of a piece of chipboard and then tape that to the table. Push the coordinate button on the teach pendant until you arrive at world coordinates. The origin of your world coordinates is right about here, with the x-axis running positively this way away from your power cables, and the y-axis running positively this way, and the z-axis running positively up away from the table. As you start moving in world coordinates, notice how all 6 joints start moving at the same time. This is how you solve the problem of moving your marker across the sheet of paper. This would be nearly impossible to achieve in the joint coordinate system. With world coordinates, it's somewhat trivial. Bring the marker down into the center of the paper until it just barely touches. And as you get close, you're going to need to slow your speed down from 10% down to 1%, or maybe even slower. We're looking for that moment where it just barely touches, because I can't guarantee that this big steel table is in any way flat compared to those world coordinates. And so I want to have a moment to notice my marker dragging deeper and deeper into the paper, because I might be sliding along a gently sloping uphill climb. And as I watch it, I feel that I am. The marker line becomes darker and darker. The marker itself starts skittering along the paper. I am definitely climbing up a hill as I drag this marker around. And as I keep going, I notice that my marker starts to lift off the paper, making a lighter and lighter line until it lifts off entirely. This might mean that the table slumps down here, but it also might mean that that moment where I was pushing harder and the marker was skittering along the paper, that marker might have been shoved further up into the fingers of the robot. That theory feels confirmed as I walk all the way around the sheet of the paper and come back to the middle again, because I'm no longer touching the paper when I get all the way around. Something has moved, and the marker itself is the likely culprit. If you've made it this far without totally destroying your marker by pushing it down too hard into the table, then pat yourself on the back. Congratulations. Next up, we're going to try to make the world a little more complicated by turning our sheet of paper so that we can no longer rely on world coordinates. And that's the topic of user frames.